close to
I
my,
think it was just down.
yeah, I don't remember it being this close to my face.
No. I was shocked seeing that.
Wait. So, wait. Play. There you go. Okay.
We'll get- Tell her she needs it.
It's 7 o'clock. It's time to convene our Sampson County Board of Commissioners June meeting. Welcome, everyone. Chairman Wooten is not able to be with us tonight. It was a game day decision, so we're going to be scrambling here maybe a little bit, but welcome. Thank you. Glad that you're here. And at this time, I'll call on Mr. Causey for our invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, you are a good and wonderful God. We know and understand that all good things come through you. We understand that we all have the potential to be your vessel to do the good works here on earth. Likewise, we ask that you bless Sampson County and its governing body. We further pray that you give the governing body the discernment needed to make decisions that benefit our citizens and further your kingdom on earth, especially during these critical times. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Causey. Commissioner Kivett will lead us in the pledge.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I understand we have a couple of additions to the consent agenda.
Ms. Holder's going to review those.
Yes, Commissioners, there are two items that we're requesting as walk-ons this evening. The first, just simply to be added to the consent agenda, and that's a home and community care block grant provider summary. The second item is to be added, we're requesting that you add it to consent agenda item D. It is one additional CDBG-NR documents, the Section 4 Compliance Officer Certification that was received after the agenda was published. So those are the two items we're requesting you to walk on.
Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I make a motion that we accept the agenda.
Do I have a second? All in favor? At this time, if Ms. Rowe Oates Mobley will come forward and introduce our guest.
Good afternoon. I would like to introduce Mr. David Rue. He is the Executive Director of the North Carolina Public Transportation Association.
Vice Chair Lee and members of the board, I am David Rue, and I am the Executive Director for the North Carolina Public Transit Association. It's my great pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for your leadership and ongoing commitment to Sampson County transportation as it serves your neighbors by enhancing their economic and social health, especially during COVID-19. Sampson County Transit is one of 89 association members as part of our collective team. Tonight, their 88 peers and our 64 business partners celebrate their work in this community with the presentation of this Ncpta Safety Award, an award given based on their excellence behind the wheel, a performance based on thousands of miles traveled without any kind of accident. A remarkable achievement. Well done. Now a word about servant leadership. You are blessed with one of the most outstanding and passionate transit leaders in North Carolina. I know that because I travel the state on a weekly basis. Roe Oates is focused on what she does and who she serves. She is a thought leader within the association and to me as the leader of our organization and helps guide our organization's work. In April, Roe was selected by her peers, her colleagues across the state, to serve on our 23-member board effective July the 1st. North Carolina is better because of Roe Oates and the team here in Sampson County, some of which is assembled behind me. Congratulations to you all. Vice Chair Lee and board members, thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening.
If we have staff, would you please stand so that we can recognize you? Thank you so much. This is quite an honor. Very proud of our essay. Thank you. What a refreshing way to start. I like that one. Okay, moving on. We're going to go into planning and zoning matters. Is Mr. Brinkley here? There we are, in the back of the room.
Good evening. The first item is the preliminary plan for Taylor's Creek Phase 3. This is the final phase of the Taylor's Creek subdivision. On the planning board meeting May 10th, the planning board voted unanimously to approve this preliminary plan, which includes 21 single-family lots. The lots are going to be served by public right-of-way. There are regulated floodplains located within the platting of this subdivision, but none of the buildable portions of any of these lots are within the regulated floodplain. Other than that, the property will have individual septic systems and they'll be served by county water. If there's any questions on this, I can take them at this time.
Any questions?
I don't have it.
Is there a motion? I move that we approve the preliminary plan as recommended by the planning board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? I think that was unanimous. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. The final item is the rules of procedure. There were proposed amendments and updates to bring the planning board rules of procedure into compliance with the recently adopted Chapter 160D. At the May 10th planning board, myself and Joel Starling provided an overview of these changes. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of these changes to the rules of procedure. And if there's any questions about these, I can answer them at this time.
Any questions?
I have none. I move we approve the amended rules of procedure recommended by the planning board.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Whitler. All done, I think. Okay. Now we're moving forward to a public hearing on the proposed budget.
Budget, economic development, no one signed
Okay.
up for, and that's roads and public comment.
Okay. Mrs. Holder's going to share with us the guidelines for the public comment.
Yes, if you'll notice, and this particular public hearing, Vice Chairperson Lee, is specific to the proposed budget. There is a public comment period that will come afterwards. As you will notice on the podium, there is a light indicator. Each person is allocated by the board's rules 3 minutes to speak on the matter at hand. When they have 2 minutes, when 2 minutes have expired, the light will change from green to yellow, which means they have 1 additional minute to conclude their remarks before they need to let the next person speak. Obviously, with the public hearings, we ask that their remarks be, obviously, stay in the framework of what is to be discussed. We ask that they not make them about personnel issues or items that cannot be discussed in an open session. And that, I think, as long as they're courteous in their presentation, then that's all the rules that need to be applied.
Fair enough. Miss Wendy Taylor, would you come forward? If you will, state your name and address.
Wendy Taylor, 2556 Greensbridge Road, Garland, North Carolina.
All right, your time has started, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to address the Board of Commissioners. My name is Wendy Taylor, granddaughter of a former Sampson County Commissioner who used to sit in one of those seats, J. Homer Butler. He helped mold me into who I am today, and growing up, he taught me that, if I wanted change, I had to be the change, so here I am. He's probably looking down saying, oh, Lord, here she goes. To give you a little background on me, in middle school, I played at Fisher Drive, softball there. It led to me playing 4 years at Lakewood High School and several summers at the Co-Ed League in Garland during my high school years. After having children of my own, I coached for several years in Garland when my boys were young and played there. And now my granddaughter will be playing her first T-ball game there Thursday night, and I invite each and every one of you to join me at 7 p.m. so you can see just how many people, kids and adults, that benefit from this league. I'm a retired teacher now, but I still substitute regularly for Sampson County Schools. Before retiring, I taught at Clear Run Middle, Union Middle School, Midway High School, and Union High. I consider the Union District my home because the people there at the end of the county are great, and I love working with them, and I'm here tonight to advocate for the kids in the district that I call home. The past year has been extremely difficult on everyone, as you know. Life was turned upside down in the blink of an eye. Shutdowns, masks, remote learning, social distancing, there was nothing normal anymore. What we thought was 2 weeks to slow the spread ended up being a full year of everyone's life. While it was only inconvenient for some of us, we know the children were the most profoundly affected by the madness. They were scared and isolated for far too long. Over the course of the year, I've seen too many children in the Garland area wandering the streets with idle time. Parks were shut down. There was absolutely nothing for them to do. So when I learned the softball league in Garland was a go for this year, I was overjoyed. This little small-town league has been going strong since 2016 when the late Judy Smith, a town commissioner, had the vision to bring it back after the county recreation department vacated it roughly 10 years earlier. There are around 100 kids currently playing. Volunteer sponsorship pays for T-shirts and other supplies. Coaches use their own money to buy bats and supplies for their teams. The town of Garland helps by paying the light bill and keeping the grounds outside of the field maintained. Local volunteers keep the grass cut, the fields ready for practices and games. There's quite a network of people all chipping in to make this possible. The registration fee is a very affordable $5, not $35, and all of the games are played right there in Garland, where many players can walk to the park while others only have a few miles to drive. All of this is made possible by volunteers and donations from generous businesses, which leads me to why I'm here tonight. As a taxpayer in the sometimes forgotten end of the county, I always question when I make that check out to Sampson County tax collector, what am I getting for my money? And the honest answer is bare minimum services. No garbage collection, no county water, no sewer, no discount on homeowners insurance because I'm 5 miles from a fire station. There's no such thing as internet or cable options. If I dial 911, maybe a sheriff's deputy is there within 30 minutes if I'm lucky. If I need medical attention, I just hope that the one medical unit is not on somebody else's call. The southern end of the county has sadly been forgotten in a lot of ways, and it's always been that way. I'm here to ask our commissioners to invest in a little part of our county. The people living in Garland don't have the economic advantages the rest of the county has. The kids in this district need this park and its league to continue. We have lights and fencing that need repairing. We would love for our facilities to be as nice as the ones in Newton Grove or Roseboro or any other recreational parks funded by our tax dollars. Last year's been rough on us all.
Ms. Taylor, I think we've expended our time.
Yes, sir.
So I'm asking for the board to show this struggling town down in the lower end of the county where we don't have a lot, we don't get a lot, to show us some that we haven't been forgotten down there and to help finance a much needed recreational facility for the kids to have an outlet.
Thank you for.
And I'll be emailing a copy of this along with some pictures from the park to show you, because I know I had to go through it fast and I missed some of it and I was out of time, so I'll email this to each of you so you can see pictures, and I invite you to come down on any given night and see the number of people that it, serves. Thank you.
Brooke Taylor.
Brooke Taylor, 2498 Greensbridge Road. I'd like to thank you for letting me come out and speak to you guys tonight. My name is Brooke Taylor, and I am a coach and a parent of a T-ball player in Garland. I have a total of 12 children on my team. The Garland League has 2 T-ball teams, and together we coach 24 kids. I've learned a lot about these children and their families since our first practice on May 10th. Upon registering my daughter, I asked the chairman of the league if there was any help that was needed, and his response was please. I was happy to volunteer and mentor these children. This is not only their first year playing, but my first year coaching. I'm here tonight to reach out to you and ask for targeted funds that will benefit and be specific to the Garland Softball League or any softball-related projects that will happen in Garland. The families that come from my end of the county are struggling economically, low income, or receiving government assistance. The families in our town go beyond for our children. They attend every practice and go out of their way to volunteer any help. I previously stated that I am a mother of a player. I stay at home with my 2 children, and my husband is our breadwinner. Only having one income, I went out and purchased throw-down bags, balls, and a batting tee so the children can learn how to hit off of a tee and run the bases. All of these were not provided and came out of my own pocket as well as the other coaches. The children have been socially isolated for the past year. For half the year, our kids couldn't even go play on a playground or step foot on a field. We as adults know how important socialization is for our mental health. Could you imagine being trapped inside with nowhere to go and no one your age to interact with? It's heartbreaking. At the age they are, they need some sort of interaction with kids their age. I know my daughter does. COVID put a halt on her attending preschool this year, and when we heard that the Garland League was registering kids to play, I was so happy that my daughter would have an outlet to make new friends. Just last Wednesday, the coach and I put our heads together and asked the parents at last minute to bring the kids to the park to scrimmage. Every parent immediately replied with yes. Not only was there parents out there, but there were grandparents, cousins, friends, coaches, citizens of Garland out there watching our kids play. They had the best time watching the kids, and there were smiles on every sideline. The league is very important to me, not just because my daughter plays, but because it's all Garland has. We no longer house a dance studio. We barely have a safe play area for our kids to play on. And studies show that playing sports as a young adolescent not only shapes them into the success in the future, but also success in the classroom. As parents, we strive for our children to be more successful than we are. The more we build onto this league, the less kids we're going to have roaming the streets in Garland participating in illegal activities. We play every Thursday night at 7 o'clock on the main field. I ask you, please come out and watch these kids and interact and get to know with the families in your county. I do thank you, and I stand before you tonight in hopes that you can hear the cry for help that our town and children need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Holder, do we receive any comments by mail or email pertaining to?
No, ma'am, we have not.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing on the budget. We'll open a public hearing on economic development. Expenditures in the proposed budget. I do not have anyone signed up to speak on that.
And we received none in advance.
We received none, so I'm going to close the public hearing. At this time, we want to schedule some work sessions to work on the budget. Has everybody got the calendar? My first proposed evening would be next Tuesday night, June 15th. Can y'all do that?
Good night.
We're running up with some time constraints here, and we need to get some dates, get some meetings scheduled.
What time?
6.
6?
And you want that in the
You want
administrative building?
Okay, that'll be fine. Administrative building. Is that good with you, Commissioner Lee?
We got surgery at 10. Hopefully I'll be back by then.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and tentatively set it up for June 15th at 6 p.m. And then we need to do a second one. What about June 22nd at 6?
Works for me.
Same time?
It's my husband's 70th birthday. He might not like me being here, but that'll be fine. Okay. If you would, send us a calendar reminder on that, and we were good to go on that. Okay. Ms. Holder, if you would address the issue of naming of the roads.
Yes, we now, we are required to hold a public hearing to receive comments with regards to proposed names of certain private roads. For your consideration tonight are the following roads: Heron Court, Country Cove Lane, Bradshaw Farm Lane. The next 4 are in the Murray Farm subdivision. They are Tiger Paw Lane, Sanford Lane, Stagaman Lane, and Athens Lane. These are presented to the board for consideration from the Road Naming Committee.
I move we name the private roads according to the recommended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? I think that's unanimous. Okay, this time, Mr. Lynn Reynolds will come forward and talk to us about the approval amendments to the ordinances.
I come before the board tonight with a proposed updated ordinance. But first, I'd like to give a brief overview of the water system in our county and why the original ordinance is in need of updating. We have two districts in the county that were created in the mid-1990s. Each had their own funding and their own ordinances. Both systems face many challenges due to the cost and the rural setting. The engineer did not think the system could be self-sufficient, but the board disagreed and elected to proceed. The intent and goal was to furnish potable water to as many residents in the county as they could and expand the system as funding would allow. The board had some difficult decisions to make for this to take place. The original ordinance was written prior to the construction and has many items that do not apply now. One was an introductory sign-up rate, and one was a USDA limit of $5,000 per tap. It almost costs that much now for engineering fees. These two items stand out along with a few others that make the original ordinance difficult for our staff and for the customers to use. Many items had to be addressed before the project could be implemented. First, would enough customers sign up to make it self-sufficient? Second, the system had to be a non-fire rated system to make it affordable. A fire rated system costs twice as much to install and was not affordable. The non-fire rated system that the board elected to install was borderline to make the cut and make it efficient as it was. The mileage of water lines and number of customers would have been reduced around 50% if a fire rated system had been installed. Thirdly, more obstacles presented themselves. Being a non-fire rated system, DEQ requires the water lines to maintain a 30 PSI at peak flow or the system would be out of state compliance. This was a difficult concession for the board to agree to, but it was state law. But the project, for it to proceed, that's the way it had to be. Fire hydrants would be installed for flushing, and if the pressure could be maintained at 30 PSI, they could be used by others. The board back in the 90s made some difficult decisions, and we have a good potable water system that we intend to expand as funding allows. The pandemic also helped us identify some needs that we could do to improve our business practices. A customer can apply for service and pay online. They don't have to come to the office anymore. We're planning to upgrade our drive-through window. It's too low. People have to get out of the truck or their vehicle and to use the window. We recently, a good example of what we did lately on good customer service, we had 28 customers added to our system due to the Green Path Road project. We went to the customers, not a single one have had to come to Clinton. 28 people near the Harnett County line were able to continue to work, and we went after hours and got them signed up. And they paid us, they wrote a check and all that. The updated ordinance reflects some technology services we provide and a decrease in the late fee penalties. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board about this streamlined ordinance that I'm proposing. It's reduced the number of pages in half of what it was. We've removed the clutter that is related to the construction that no longer applies. And I'm ready to take any questions or answer any questions you got.
I have no questions, but I'd like to commend you on the effort that you and your staff have put in to achieve what we have at our system for the county and the good work you've done. I have no questions.
And I kudos that also, the work that I seen them doing. It's amazing at what the county is doing and how we are helping others to get that need it. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate your hard work.
So I move we approve the ordinance as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you so much for
Okay,
your hard
thank you.
work.
Thank you for the support.
And Madam Vice Chair, we'll need to add that for a second reading approval on the next agenda since we don't have all 5 commissioners here. So you'll need to vote on that one more time on a consent agenda.
The next item on our agenda, I am going to request that we table this until we have all 5 commissioners, the memorandum of agreement between the state of North Carolina and Sampson County on the opioid crisis. As important as that issue is, we need to have more discussion and come back to that at a later time. Do we need to vote on that or just, okay, very good. Okay, now we'll move on to our appointments. Okay, for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I move that we appoint Wally Bachelor, Roland Hall, and Sean Hobbs to serve on that board.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the Aging Advisory Council, I have talked Clark Hales, and we need an elected person to serve on this, an elected official, and Clark Hales from the Clinton City School Board is going to serve on that, and I move that we nominate him. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, for the Sampson County Economic Development Advisory Board, I move that we appoint Bartley Warren and Gary Mack Herring Jr. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. We're coming down to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. We have some board information help from the Health Department, and we're down to our county managers' reports.
I only have 2 things, and those are things that you are already aware of that we have notified. Just as a reminder, we have appointed or have hired a new library director that will be starting on June 28th. We're very fortunate to have this young lady. She is serving as the director of the library over in Bladen County, and her name is Kelsey Edwards. Let me see if I've got that right. She's also lives at Willard. She went to Harold's Christian Academy. She's got her master's, and we're very delighted to have her. She'll be starting on June 28th, and we will bring her over at your July meeting to formally introduce her. The other position that has been filled is our new EMS directors, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Richard Sauer. He will be starting to work on July 15th. Both of these candidates have a quality that is one of my 2 favorite words, and that is demonstrated. Both of them have got the demonstrated experience and background to perform the jobs that they are. I won't go into Mr. Sauer's background. When he comes, we'll talk more about that. But both of them have an extensive background to do the work that they have, and I'm sure they're going to be ready to provide leadership on day one of getting to the county. Thank you very much.
Huge Sampson County welcome to these 2 new employees. Okay, now moving on to the public comment period. If you will address the guidelines again on that.
Yes, the guidelines are the same as with your public hearings. Again, when the person starts, after they give their name and address, the light will appear as green, which indicates they have 3 minutes to make their comments. After 2 minutes have expired, the light will turn yellow, and that is an indication they should wrap up their remarks. They will have 3 minutes, and at that time, we'll try to remember to tell them their time has expired if it turns red. And again, the board has always just asked us to convey that they are very appreciative of the remarks being with decorum and understanding that there are others who are listed to speak afterwards.
Thank you. Our first speaker is Alan Williams with EMS Paramedics.
Good evening. I'm Chief Alan Williams, Taylorsbridge Fire Department, 6825 Taylorsbridge Highway. Thank you all for letting me speak. My concern is threefold. This is a budget request item, it's a public safety item, and it's a first responder safety item. But there was a line item from the EMS Supervisor Eric Herring for $230,000 to hire 6 paramedics in this county. Right now, there's 6 advanced life support units in this county. There's only 6. From Highway 24 north, there's 5. 2 in Clinton, 3 stays in the northern end of the county. 24 south, there's only 1. The issue is when that EMS 77 unit goes out on a call, we're at 0. $230,000 to hire 6 paramedics that can save lives is a small price to pay for what needs to be done. That's not the fix. That won't fix the EMS problem in the county, but it's a start. Back during football season, a young man from Charlotte was playing football at Harold's, broke his collarbone. He laid on the football field for 45 minutes. I sat there with him with his parents. That's unacceptable. There was a wreck a few weeks ago in Harold's. The EMS unit came from Newton Grove. 3 patients to be transported had to sit on the side of the road for 45 minutes waiting on an ambulance. Unacceptable. Saturday, we were at a fire in Garland. The firefighters were getting their rehab, getting checked out by EMS. There was another EMS call in Garland. My assistant chief looked at me. He said, what do I do? Do I keep the truck here or do I let it go? I said, you let it go. They're advanced life supports. They're paramedics. They're not EMTs. They're not firefighters like us. We go, when we're called, we go, we can perform life-saving measures. We need those advanced life support units. So I'm asking that you reconsider that request. It was not recommended in the proposed budget that I saw. That's being Mr. Wooten and Mr. Collins, we had this discussion in a fire commission meeting. I'll answer any questions you have. The EM supervisor at this time, Eric Herring and Kevin Harris, they can get you any numbers you need. I've seen it firsthand. And we're going to hurt somebody in this county. I told Mr. Clark Wooten we're going to kill somebody in this county, the direction we're going. And we see it out there every day. So I just strongly urge you to reconsider and please add those 6 paramedics. That won't get but 1 truck, but that's one we don't have. Because when that truck's gone, there's nothing. I don't have anybody call for help.
I'd like to add my comment right now. I experienced this last week. My husband have heart problems. He wasn't in cardiac arrest, but he was in trouble. And I called and it took them 45 minutes to get to my house. And that's unacceptable because if he had died, then it's awful. 45 minutes to get there.
That's the
cardiac arrest person wouldn't make it.
From the public safety standpoint and the first responder. So you got that truck coming from Newton Grove and they're driving more aggressively than they would normally drive, trying to make up that difference. And we're going to hurt somebody.
Thank you, Chief Williams, for your comments. Appreciate it.
I have a question. And of course, a viewpoint as well. I can remember several years ago, I had a man get hurt at work. And right here in town, we waited 30 minutes for EMS to get there. So it has improved over a period of time. But you said this is not a fix. It won't fix it. So what's it going to take to fix it?
It's, I don't know, the long-range plan will probably be to add 3 trucks in this county over a period of time. Would you agree with that, Mr. Collins?
It's going to be additional expenses to.
Yes, we can't do it all at one time, but the issue right now is that from Clinton South, when that unit's either gone to New Hanover or wherever it goes, we don't have anybody there.
So 3 trucks will fix it. Is that what you're saying?
I think, in my opinion, and that of others, that 3 trucks, which would be 3, 6, 9 paramedics, I think that would address all the problems.
For here on out?
For the foreseeable future, yes, sir. But to fix the immediate need, my concern was that if this doesn't get added back to the budget for this year, we're going to go a whole nother year without that 1 truck.
Because is that in the budget, is like $5.5 million that we spend?
No, sir, the 6 paramedics were not, and give me just a minute and I'll read you exactly. He is correct, the request for the 6 paramedics, and what I put in the requested budget that we had is we will hold the request for paramedics in abeyance and do an in-depth review over the next year. We want to review schedules, headquarters locations, data on calls, better utilization of volunteer, et cetera, and respond to our potential needs in the most proactive and responsible manner possible. We will then recommend additional positions as needed. So what was recommended, and of course, obviously, the board can do what it is. We're acknowledging the problem, but with the monies that we're spending, we want to do an in-depth review to make sure that what we're doing is targeted and we're getting the most bang for the buck.
What's happening, we're spending what money we have in your budget is basically the money that we have.
Yes.
We don't have any more.
Right, if we had had more money, I don't mean that curtly, but if we'd had more money, we would have spent more money.
Right.
I'm encouraged that we're looking to see if there are ways that we can alleviate some of the issues, but
So that's a problem that we have, trying to figure out how we can make the budget fit everything in such a large county geographically as well. Now, the other thing that you said that we're gonna kill someone.
Yes, sir.
How are we gonna kill someone?
Just say we're at a structure fire, and I have 2 firefighters inside that are actively fighting fire, and when they come out and they need help, by the county contract, there's supposed to be a EMS, Advanced Life Support Transport Unit on that scene when we're actively fighting fire.
That's for every fire department.
Yes, we're at every structure fire in the county.
So if you had multiple fires at one time, then you would be more or less required not to go to some if you have multiple and didn't have the equipment to go.
No, I don't understand, sir.
So how many, you've got to have an EMS at those facilities with the equipment. How many?
Yes, sir. There's 6 in the county, so
6?
there's six units in the county right now. So if there's a structure fire, that ties one of them up, it's dedicated to that fire.
So then if we had 7, then we would have to not go to 1.
We would have to land a helicopter or bring somebody from Duplin, Pender, Bladen.
I'm just,
Yeah, that's,
I don't know, I'm asking, so that's
yes,
why.
sir. And that's the issue, the number, the magic number, we would have to do the study to find out what, we would want to go out and hire 20 paramedics and add 6 trucks if that's not what we needed. But where I told Commissioner Wooten that we were gonna kill somebody is, there's nobody. That truck the other day, they had to wait 45 minutes. We sat there with them 3 kids on the side of the road. We can't do chest compressions for 45 minutes and have a viable patient. That's the issue. There was an electrocution a while back. If the pay staff showed up, never in my life have I matched the AED and it said to shock the patient. Shock the patient, life comes back in the patient. But without that EMS unit there, that young man wouldn't have made it. We don't carry the equipment, the drugs, what they need to save lives.
thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming by.
Yes.
Okay, G.H. Wilson, the Board of Elections.
Good evening. G.H. Wilson, 76 Hollering Road, and before you turn that light on, you see that big fella back there in the back, Timmy Banks? I used to coach him. Now, if that thing turns red, don't send him up here to get me. Madam Vice Chair, fellow commissioners, Mr. Causey and staff, fellow Sampsonians. I'm G.H. Wilson with the County Board of Elections, and I have with me tonight Dwight Williams and our Director, Nia Rayner. And Nia, stand up. I don't know, but this young lady, filled in a spot last year, probably the biggest election we've had in my lifetime, and she did a great job. She started working July, August, and she went through that election and run off and recounting and everything. She did a real good job, and I just, I want you, if you hadn't met her, I want you to meet her. Go over and talk to her. But we three met with Mr. Causey and David Clack a couple months back and discussed the possibility of finding a place that would be more room for our election staff. And I want to thank you for listening to our request and allowing us to swap places with the Veterans Office. It will give us much more space to work in and also to store our voting records. But we are concerned about the early voting. We may be fine in the municipal elections this year. It may be in the primary next spring, but we're concerned about the fall elections and the 2024 presidential elections. Feeling we might be cramped in there and people having to wait outside in inclement weather or something like that, Over 9,000 people voted early last year. It's in Clinton at the Babcock Building, which is 32% of the people that voted in the whole county all the time. We just fear that we may not have enough room for them at the Veterans Office, and we would like a permanent place that we could have early voting every year. We could designate a place. We don't have to have that for our offices, but we do need a bigger place for early voting. We would really appreciate it if you could help us look into this. Our board is having discussions about how to reduce the polling places, especially around the city of Clinton. There's 5 precincts in Clinton, and then one at the Armory for Kitty Ford. That's 6 places within, 10 miles that we're voting. Now, I'm not talking about changing the precincts. I'm just talking about reducing the polling places, because with that, we could use less people in the voting. We're using anywhere from 8. This year, we tried to use 12 according to the state, and it's just hard to find 23 polling places times 12 people. I want to make sure that you understand I'm not talking about cutting down precincts. I'm just talking about cutting down polling places. So we've got 2 polling places that within 100 yards of each other, just about it. So it's something that we would like you to look at. 17 days of early voting is a lot of time for folks to vote, and a permanent place for early voting in the city of Clinton, we feel, would help us tremendously and be a benefit to the people of Sampson County. And I'll take any questions or.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Wilson.
thank you.
Dwight Williams? Okay. Naya? Also. Okay, that's all that I have signed up to speak.
Can I make a comment? I spent a lot of time with them in the last election, and they're right. Naya did a great job. She worked very hard. The whole staff did, and they'll be commended for what they did to handle an election that was as complicated and complex as it was. So my hat's off to you. Thank you for what you do.
I think we're at the end of the meeting. I move that we recess to reconvene on June 15th at 6 p.m. in the administrative building.
Second.
All in favor?